Hi, this is Joe Quattrochi. I'm very glad on this day to be welcoming Doug Keck. He is the President and Chief Operating Officer of EWTN. And Doug, thanks for taking the time to chat with me.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Now, we're here in Manhattan, of all places, and certainly Manhattan is a place that goes with your history. You worked in cable television for a number of years. How did you make that transition from secular cable television into EWTN?
Is this the long or the short version you'd like?
You can give whatever you like.
Well, I was working in cable television and radio for about 20 years in New York. Worked on Bravo, American Movie Classics, Independent Film Channel, CNBC, and a bunch of other startups, Madison Square Garden Network, regional sports networks. And you know, quite honestly, I went on a marriage encounter weekend, and my life and focus kind of changed. I had a special needs son who's autistic, who also, I think, kind of changed my perspective on certain things. And with that, I found, got more interest in my faith. I started watching EWTN, learning more about the faith. And over a period of time, I actually felt literally called to go and work there, which I did in 1996.
Now, you are here at the Father Benedict Annual Awards dinner. It's a dinner that's sponsored by Good Counsel Homes,
right.
Pro-Life Ministry. And
wonderful ministry.
Yes, thank you. And you're going to receive the Father Benedict Life Award. Now, Father Benedict...
well, I'm only receiving it for Mother Angelica.
Exactly.
Right? We thank you for using a cloistered nun to conquer the airwaves for Christ.
You are here representing our dearly departed foundress of EWTN, who, you heard me say we.
Right, sure.
A lot of the viewers are so emotionally attached to Mother Angelica. Can you kind of, in a way, describe her impact on you and also on Catholic media in general?
Well, I think it's tough to totally gauge her total impact because so many people have been impacted and affected over the years that we'll never know about until we get to the other side, so to speak. As Father Benedict used to say, we'll not know all the good that's been done until we get to the other side and see the impact that it's had. But certainly, Mother's impact, I think, in the sense of being a sign of contradiction, a crippled nun, cloistered nun, starting up a worldwide global Catholic network in the buckle of the Bible Belt in Birmingham, Alabama, is something that clearly shows it's God's work and not her own, and she's been the first one to say that. And I think her impact, so certainly on Catholic media, has been unbelievable, because I think really so much of what is being done today and so much what EWTN is doing, expanding into all other, between the internet and OTT, over-the-air services, radio, shortwave radio we still have. We really we like to say EWTN everywhere. And we were at about 270 million homes worldwide now, 15 networks, 10 basically television and 5 on radio. And so that is her work that we're carrying forward. For me personally, I think the greatest thing about dealing with Mother Angelica was to realize that you can meet a real person who's also a saint, and a person who was not afraid to show her foibles in person and on the air. And as I would say, the person you saw on the air was the person we sat at with meetings, who we had discussions with and conversations with, and I thought that was great. She was quite authentic.
She was so authentic. She had absolutely no problem telling it like it was and is in terms of abortion. And she would describe partial birth abortion on her live show. Nobody was doing that, in terms of broadcast media and the secular journalists and everything. She just cut right to the case and wanted really to be involved in building a culture of life. And one of the great things, and I'd like to ask you, how did EWTN, speaking about pro-life issues and everything, how did you get the process rolling in terms of airing the March for Life each January in Washington?
Well, I think as you hit, Mother Angelica was incredibly focused on the whole life issue, especially because El Divino Niño, the child Jesus, was very important in her spiritual life. And obviously the fact that our Lord came as a child, we're coming up on Christmas, incarnate in that fashion into the world, meant a lot to Mother. She saw that as important. She saw that as directly related to why she built the shrine in Hanceville. And also the pro-life issue was very much attached to that. And that's where she felt that motherly instinct to want to protect the children out there. And so that was always a great interest of hers. I mean, when I came, we were already doing People of Life spots and the Defending Life show with Father Frank Pavone on a somewhat regular basis at the time with Priests for Life.
Washington, D.C., let the march begin.
The March for Life was really something that we tried to do on a classically EWTN incremental basis because we don't have a lot of money. So we were doing the Mass from the shrine. And thanks to the Knights of Columbus, they were helping to underwrite that. And then we said, well, what if we had somebody, Marcus Grodi or somebody there, and we did some interviews right before and after the Mass with some of the people.
But it did seem larger to me.
And so we did that and we found that worked. Then we said, well, what if we just took the platform, you know, got the speeches that are happening.
Tell us about your school.
Sacred Heart Academy.
And just did a couple of stand-up interviews before. And slowly what we ended up doing was, again, as a typical Mother Angelic approach to things, we slowly, incrementally added on.
Live from Washington, D.C. here on EWTN.
As we found that not only people were interested, and it was important for people to see the numbers who were actually there rather than the ones who showed up, the 6 people who showed up in the newspaper, in the Post or the Times. Whether you agree with it or not, the reality is there's hundreds of thousands of people there, and it was important for people to see that. And so we slowly just did it that way, and originally we were doing the whole location shoot there, but between the loud choir singing and playing, and you couldn't hear a lot of things, and so we decided to anchor it actually out of Birmingham initially. This year will be the first year it's going to be anchored out of our studios in Washington, D.C., right by Union Station, right by CNN. So it'll be first for us, but now we've also expanded it so we have coverage that takes us all the way down to the Supreme Court, which is what we added last year. So again, each year we've tried to do that. Of course, with the Walk for Life West Coast, that started at 5,000 about 10 years ago. It's about 30,000 now. One Life LA is happening in Los Angeles as well. Thanks to Archbishop Gomez, we're going to be doing a live shot from that as well this year. That'll be new. And we also do basically the March for Life up in Ottawa in Canada when that happens in May. So those are all different outreaches we've done on the pro-life side.
And it has been incredible. Let me share my memory, which may not be exactly on par, but C-SPAN used to annually broadcast the March for Life. One year they cut it off, and it seemed like EWTN was right there filling that vacuum, which was excellent. Let me ask you, what kind of difficulties do you have? This is a large event. You don't want to be a C-SPAN, I assume, in just shooting the podium, just shooting the speakers. And sometimes there are speakers that you may not want to actually have, on air at that podium. And how do you find that balance of, okay, we're going to do some interviews with some folks who are pro-life representatives. We're going to show the crowd. We're going to show some of the marchers. How do you find the balance?
Well, I think we've done it through fits and starts and basically by trial and error. I think, at one point we used to have a lot of interviews happening while the platform was going on. And we had a lot of people say, I'd like to be able to see these people who are there. And to some degree, even some of the politicians who've been willing to stand up. And so what we kind of have done is tried to make it so before the march, we deal with those who are involved mostly in the movement. Whether it be someone for good counsel like Chris Bell, who might be there, or someone else from a pro-life group, from SBA or somebody like that. Then we have the platform, which features some of those people, plus some of the people who have organizations, plus politicians who are promoting a culture of life. Then once we get into the march, we really focus on the people who've come for the march, the people who are from all the little churches and the parishes, why we try to announce when we see the banners and things, it's because people want to be able to see the kids who came from the high school, and we want that part of the equation, which we can't get all the time, which is the grassroots. Why did you come? Why did you make this 12-hour ride in a bus to come here? Is it just because this is like a school trip, or are you really committed to this movement? So we kind of break it up that way.
And you do an excellent job. I enjoy watching, and a lot of people watch online, because maybe they can't get out there, maybe they're working. And so the online presence of EWTN has just been incredible.
Well, we've expanded that quite a bit. We actually have some additional things being done to our app as well. And we've encouraged people to send us pictures from the site and stream some things to us. So we're always trying to do something new, different within the realm of our financial capabilities, because just like good counsel relies totally on donations, so does EWTN.
Exactly. Now, finally, You are, on behalf of Mother Angelica, receiving the Father Benedict Life Award. What memories, positive memories, do you have of Father Benedict? He was a co-founder of Good Counsel, had a great commitment to the culture of life. Can you tell us a memory of Father Benedict and share with us?
Well, I only have good memories of Father Benedict because even when we were going at it on certain things, he was such a great guy. It was tough to be mad at him. The weirdest story I ever have actually of him is when I had not met him yet. I went to before I went to work for EWTN, we got to be pretty good friends at EWTN over the years, but this was the first time I actually met him. I was going up to, I forget which high school it is here in like Yonkers. There was an event there and Cardinal O'Connor was speaking, so it gives you an idea how long ago. And I'm walking up there and it was kind of an icy day, and there's Father Groeschel out of the blue with his beret on, sliding down this hill, yelling at me, telling me, hey, those guys over there, tell them that they can't be parking their cars up here. They can't be parking their cars up. And I'm going, who are you talking to? I'm like, and he's like, yeah, what? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want me to do? I don't know. They can't go back there. So I tell the guy who's driving into in the driveway, I'm sorry, you can't go. The guy says, who the heck are you? And I said, because he said he's in charge. And I was the guy who was in charge of facilities. I said, I don't know. Father Benedict just told me I can't let any cars go back there. He says, well, what should we do? I said, why don't you just park your car across the driveway so nobody can come in? And we did. And that was my introduction to Father Benedict Groeschel in person. I had been a fan of his for years on television, but I just still have that image of him sliding down on this icy hill, yelling at me out of the blue. And
he was not afraid to yell.
No, not at all. And so that was one of my great memories. And the other ones are always just the idea that I thought he was a man who had incredible love for the poor and for the downtrodden. And he worked himself to the bone to do those things. He cared greatly for people. And the other thing I always think about him was his power naps. I remember one time saying, can I use your office for about 10 minutes? He'd go in there, he'd turn off the light, take his little power nap, and then he'd keep on going.
Wow.
That's how he got everything done.
Doug, much success for the future, and thank you for providing such great leadership.
Well, we want to thank you and Chris Bell and Joan for having such a wonderful ministry that's so important, especially today. I don't think there's a better place for people to support outside of maybe EWTN or simultaneously, but Good Counsel Homes, and which I could say I personally do.
Thank you, Doug.